don't know if you can do it, you have to step up, you're not completely sure.
Are we as CEOs, as CMOs, going to be, jobless because of AI? Like, what's your thoughts around there?
It's hard to say, right? This thing is moving so very fast. It's probably not going to take your job away. It's probably going to help you do things faster.
The marketers that I've met, quite a lot of them that do really, really well, it's simply because they really understand what brings the money in and how that money is then translated into more profits and more investment opportunities for the company to invest in branding, in marketing, in new products.
I like the person I am more today than I did in 2009.
That's gold, man. That's gold. I think
that would be my advice.
Dude, if anyone heard that part, I think, and if you took Jen's advice to heart and actually took action, you're going to level up super fast. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another show of Builders Focus. As you know, this show, we want to bring on cool builders who want to make a difference in this world. And today I'm very honored to be joined by a fellow member in the Elite Entrepreneurs Coaching Group with Dan. And I'm very blessed to have her with me here today. She's a CMO for a bunch of B2B companies. She's very passionate in what she does, and she has some amazing experiences that I'm pretty excited to dive deep into as well. So Jen, very warm welcome. Glad for you to be here. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity.
As always, with the tradition of the show, can you just introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Jen Kelly, and I run a couple of different companies. One I am involved in day to day, another one less so. So the first one is a B2B marketing company. It's called New Initiatives Marketing. We're based in Toronto, and we work with clients throughout North America. We have a fractional CMO program plus marketing team. So we go into companies that don't have marketing support there, and we bring in the strategy and then the team, the execution for that. The other company is one I am a partner in. It's a sports nutrition company. So think sports protein powder, that kind of thing. The company is called Inner Armor, and two of my business partners and I bought the company in 2020, and we've been busy bringing it back to life.
Amazing. So just in that short 1 minute, that was a lot. I mean, we could break down a lot of stuff. So how did you get started in your career, Jen? I'm just curious.
In my career, so I did go to school for marketing. And when I came out, I went right to a corporate job, and I wanted to stay in corporate. And the reason for that is how I was raised is my dad was an entrepreneur. So I mean, he's still around, but he's mostly retired now. But so growing up in an entrepreneurial household, what I saw was both the good and, the bad or the challenging parts of being an entrepreneur. Things are good, things are great. When things are not so good, you really do notice it. And so growing up in that environment, I just thought, who wants that? Let me go get a very stable corporate job, and life will be good. That's what I did. So went out, and then for many years I worked in marketing teams at big stable companies, or so I thought, right? This story has a twist, like the Financial Times UK in London, so the Pink Paper, Siemens, Motorola. So we're talking very big brands. And then what got me into running my own company was in 2009. There was a terrible, recession, financial meltdown. At the time, I was laid off. At the time, too, it was very hard to go and, get a marketing job somewhere else. And so I thought, okay, I'll just contract and consult my way out of the recession. And then as soon as this thing is over, I'm going to go right back to my corporate job. Different things happened for sure. And one of the things that did happen was I found it very different being on my own than within corporate. And what I mean by that is my experience in corporate was you kind of had to wait until there was a job posting or a new, a new expansion into a new geography in order to sort of move up or move around. So it was you were kind of waiting for the opportunity to be presented to you. Out on your own, you got to make your own opportunity. And so that was quite eye-opening for me.
Amen to that.
That I had to, but that I could. I didn't have to wait around for any kind of listing or job opening. I could go literally knock on a door of a company and see if they needed, a certain type of marketing help. And that kind of
create the life you want, right?
It was like, wow, I can really make this happen. But that's how that started. And then, all the growth around sort of making your own company, from consulting on your own, and then choosing, are you going to stay on your own? Or are you going to grow this into, more of a business?
What a beautiful story. So you started in a very stable position. You learned from all of the big brands. What were kind of like the key lessons that you took away from that experience being in the corporate world?
In the corporate world, well, you know what? It's kind of a privilege to be into the corporate world. I know a lot of people like to bash corporate life, but if you think about it in this way, you're coming into an organization. So I'm talking from a marketing point of view. You're coming into an organization with an established brand. I mean, there is either years or decades, or in some cases, hundreds of years of the world knowing about this company. Exactly. And so while that can bring with it some baggage, it can also bring with it, clout, lots and lots of different experience and whatnot. And what's neat about that is, you get to learn from that company. There's in large companies like that, my experience was there was all kinds of people more senior than I was that were there to teach you, to help you. You were on different project teams, and so you were kind of almost going to the university of whatever brand you were working for. And when you were trying to put a little deal together, or you were trying to set up a trade show booth, set up some kind of initiative happening, people always call you back because you're from the big brand. So that's certainly
wow.
People return your phone
what's funny is that I never got a chance to actually work in a proper corporate jobs. So I went straight out of uni. I went in to help one of my mom's friend run her cafe restaurant, and I did engineering. Then I went into customer service. And then I was called back to my dad's company to then go in to try and help him as well. So I had no, corporate job, trying to learn from all of these better people and these coaches and these leaders. So I actually grinded my way up from knowing nothing of the business. And that's why I joined, really make it a point to invest in these type of programs. And, I've done this for like 10 plus years now, and it's been an amazing journey. But I do feel jealous a bit, people like you, because you actually got to work with some really cool brands, man, like Financial Times. I think I was a subscriber for like a couple of years as well. So
oh, good. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go. So now, when you started your career, when did you start feeling that fire in you to like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur now. I've got to like get my shit together. Like, it's like go time now, man.
I think right away, because I didn't come at this opportunity with it all planned out. If you will, from my story, maybe you'd call me the reluctant entrepreneur. I mean, I never had dreams of starting my own business and whatnot, just from what I saw growing up. I did see, both sides, equally great, equally like, oh, wow, what's happening now? And so, yeah, I would prefer the stableness. At least that's what I thought, right? So when I first started out, it really was me, trying to get a paycheck coming in, to be quite honest. So the fire was there, but I think the fire was there more as a panic because, I was laid off. I have to bring in some money. I have to keep it going. I have to, I have these skills, and what am I going to do now? So that was the fire. So the fire of panic right away. After things got going, I have to say it's been an interesting journey because after things got going and I got feeling more, I guess the word is confident in the ability to go out and find the work, bring the work back after a couple of years, deciding or kind of being forced to, and I can tell that story later about, choosing between, are you going to stay solo, consulting? Are you going to grow this into a business? How exactly do you do this? After that kind of got going, I have to say I kind of plateaued a little bit in the way that, okay, things are running good. We got this going. And I did notice the fire leaving a little bit. And it wasn't, I want to be sure I explain, it wasn't the passion for the business that was leaving because I still found that interesting, but I didn't feel the drive to grow because I thought, okay, we're here, we're good, we're stable, we've made it. But that's the kind of thing, that's exactly one of the reasons I'm in that coaching program because, it's like why are you stalling out? I mean, there's, what does he say? There's levels, right?
Yeah.
And you owe it to yourself. And then if you have certain skills, you owe it to yourself to be, the best version you can get to. So we've had to reignite the fire. So there was some panic fire and then some, I guess, kicking back because we were stable.
Can you tell us a bit about fractionalizing the CMO role? Because that, to me, when I read your website, I was like, whoa, can you actually fractionalize a CMO? And then I started to ask my own question. Wait, can I fractionalize myself as well then?
I mean, perhaps. So the fractional CMO, so the fractional chief marketing officer, the idea of a fractional executive, we really have to give credit where it's due. And it comes from the financial industry. So for about 10, 15 years, at least over here in North America, there was, it was the chief financial officer, so CFO, so fractional CFO that kind of paved the way for all of us fractionals right now. And so what they would do is they would come into a smaller, medium-sized business, typically one that needed that kind of strategy, needed that kind of oversight, needed that kind of information and leadership, but either didn't need it full-time or also couldn't afford an executive at that level full-time. But it's the kind of thing with strategy, you don't need to be working on strategy, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 7 days a week, right? So it's the kind of thing that can be brought in, planned, there's your strategy. Now it's time to execute. We can oversee the execution, but you don't need me all these hours. From that point of view, it led very well to, okay, so if we had this executive or this thinking a fraction of the time, so a part of the month, part of the year, part of the week, we could still get the value of that person's brain and experience, but we wouldn't have to have it full time. So it could benefit a growing company that way, but it could also benefit the executive in that they could have more than one client. And they would be able to, expand their own consulting practice or their own business that way. That's how it started. And then I think COVID over here anyways in North America did a lot for, of course it was, awful, but what it did on the positive side was show that not everybody has to be in the office to do work. And it also seemed to open up the idea of having people work and collaborate that weren't necessarily employees, but that could still partner and benefit your company. So with the fractional chief marketing officer role, it's the same type of thing. So for a marketing strategy, you don't need to work on the strategy every single day. You create it be enough that if things happen with the competition, things happen in the industry, it can move, but the very same way, it can be great for growing companies.
I've found this to be quite true for my own company. Is that sometimes the team actually doesn't want me there all the time as well, because I'm always like, when's that next post gonna come? Where's that next video? Blah 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 blah. Right? And so they're all like, So yeah, I think having that ability to be flexible with the hours and to be able to work with not just one client, but a couple of companies is actually pretty interesting. And on average, how many clients are you able to serve in perhaps like a month or like a period?
The short answer is it depends, because while we have certain programs, some go out annually, some can go for 6 months. It really depends what we see what the company needs. So right now we're between 12 and 15 clients
per year or
well per year, yes. And no, we've got the capacity for more. So
wow, that's amazing. So it means like there's 12 companies that you are kind of like overseeing for them. Wow. Yeah. Are all these companies in different fields?
They are in different fields. So we focus on business to business, and even that, that's a huge area. So the areas that we niche into are technical services, industrial, and so that would mean in oil and gas or electric utilities. And then we do on this side of things, non-food manufacturing. So there's enough in there, and and that is our focus. Yeah.
What is usually like the reason why these companies are attracted to your services? Is it mainly the industry experience that you bring, kind of like your best practices because you've been working with big brands before, or what's kind of like the struggle on their side?
The struggle on their side has there's a a couple of things. So we typically work with companies that have been in business 3 years or longer. So we're not your startup marketing company. We're coming into companies that are, I guess, depending on your industry, I was going to say established. Some people would say 3 years isn't established, but for some it is. So anyways, a going concern. And what that would mean is they have proven to the market there's a product or a service that they can manufacture or produce or sell. They have systems and processes within their organization. So one of my favorites to pick on is payroll. And so what's so important about that is when you come into a company that's already used to running on systems, our approach to marketing is very systematic. So we're not going to do a campaign here and wait 6 months and do something else there. So if you kind of think about the way that you run payroll, it's going to be a certain time. I know over here in North America, it's usually every 2 weeks. I know when I was in the UK, it was once a month, but you can count on your pay coming in, right? The company doesn't decide, you know what, we're not going to run payroll this month, or you know what, we should run it every 4 days, right? They're very systematic about it. And we want to come in and sort of latch onto that thinking, so they're not thinking, oh, we're going to run a campaign, we're going to stop, we're going to start. No, marketing something that's got to keep going for you. So that's one of the things. The pain that they would be experiencing is their sales team. So there's a couple things. Their sales team might start to complain about the fact that they are getting really jammed or really ground on price. So it doesn't matter what they say about the product or service. The clients are like, how much? ABC can do it better, right? So they're starting to hear that. And they don't have enough to come back and really talk about their differentiation because they've never done any marketing. So that would be one of the problems. Another problem that could happen is that internally they have bought into the idea that marketing is very important. So they have brought in their own CMO, or they have brought in a junior marketing person. And you know, at both ends of the scale, that CMO can't do it all. They can come up with a strategy, but even if they're the A player, they know what needs to be done. There's not enough hours in the day to get it all done. You know, if you go on the other side of the spectrum, the junior in there is just waiting to be told what to do so they can get after it and do something. But without the strategy, they're kind of lost too. So it's a bit of a marketing limbo there. So that would be kind of some of the pain that the client might be experiencing without being all that experienced with marketing, to come to a company like ours and get our help, where it is fractional. It is an annual program. We do have renewals, but we also do have a 30-day cancellation policy. So we're able to, it's low risk in the way if it's not working out, we can be right out of there. But also too, it gives them a chance to really experience the strategy, the execution, a well-run team coming in to run their marketing. And then they can really see, oh, this is how it really helps our business. This is how it helps our sales team.
I think right now on the internet or on YouTube, there's a lot of people that talk about marketing as one way to perhaps attract new leads and new clients. And then there's another side of things where people are like preaching, build your personal brand, get yourself out there, and then the clients will come to you. How do you, as perhaps a more experienced individual who's worked with a lot of these companies, how do you feel on this type of perspective? Like on one side, we're running campaigns consistently, and then on the other side, there's the investment in the personal brand of the company. Perhaps maybe the CEO has to do more PR, maybe. Like, what's your thoughts around that?
My thoughts around that are both are correct. So for the business, of course, leads have to be coming in. But here's the thing, it's not only leads coming in, it's what happens after those leads come in. Like, are you actually following up with them? Or are you going to the trade shows, getting a bunch of leads, and the leads sit on that file and nobody ever touches them? So you got to make sure you got the process that can actually take that lead through and close some kind of deal. So that has to be there. And that's sometimes the boring part of lead generation, which nobody wants to look at. They just want more leads, right? But perhaps you have a leaky process that is, having all your leads fall out and never making it to the other end. So that's important. As for the personal branding, that's very important too. And you alluded to it when you talked about the CEO, getting out there more with PR and whatnot. We're exactly looking for that kind of thing. So of course there's a CEO. Typically with a lot of the companies we work with, because it's so technical, there is engineering talent there. There is, technical talent there. So how do we get those people's brilliance out to the world and help them develop the personal brand as well too? With the sales team, how do we raise their personal brand? Because, for example, if you have Joe or Jane, the salesperson, and they are sharing content and sharing their expertise and talking a little bit about, say, the latest installation that the company has done, potential clients that may be dealing with the salesperson get to see, oh, this person actually knows what they're talking about, or I'm starting to make a connection, a personal connection, it feels like. So when it's time to call up or inquire about some of the help the company could give, they feel like if we get assigned to this salesperson, we already trust that they know their stuff. So it's so that's what I say. Both sides of it is something that I agree with and is needed. It can only help the whole company.
If you could pick one platform to perhaps use, or that you think is the most beneficial for a business right now that does B2B sales, which platform would you give or say would be the most ROI positive for your clients so far? Is it SEO on ads on Google, Facebook, on Instagram? Like, what's the feedback from your side so far?
So far for B2B, naturally, most would go over to LinkedIn. Yes, there is B2B happening on TikTok. Yes, there is B2B happening on LinkedIn. Typically in North America, LinkedIn will be, and at the time of this recording, one of the more preferred platforms to
Interesting.
Speaking about this, for sure.
Wow.
The other thing is, though, I would encourage, perhaps that's where you start. As fast as possible, you want to capture that contact and get it into your own email database, because of course, the social networks are fabulous for all kinds of outreach and connection and whatnot, but it is, it's not your land, right? They talk about building a castle on rented land. Don't do that. Be sure that you as well, while your connection may start there, you need to own it and bring it back to your own list.
I think this concept is very powerful, and it's pretty surprising because here in Asia, LinkedIn is, or at least here in Thailand, I don't find that many companies are trying to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like, they're just going directly through, they basically just call our company, and say, hey, I want to talk to the CEO because blah, 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 blah. Usually my PA takes the call or my team takes the call, but it's pretty interesting. And I guess it's a unique way, and I'm trying to still grasp my head around it and see where we could try it out on our side as a company, try and reach out to some people on LinkedIn. I have found that a lot of the large corporations that are my customers, they are on LinkedIn. And so I can get to the executive level easier if I wanted to connect with them. So I'm on that. That is some homework that I need to work on to kind of build up my profile so that they don't click on me and I'm like, who's this guy? He's got a picture and there's like nothing on his feed, right? It's like, okay, he works at this company, but there's nothing that he's done before. So it's been pretty.
Is there another one, social network that's more popular?
Okay, so kind of like the traditional funnel for here in Thailand, right? You run Facebook ads. You run the Facebook ads, then you bring them into this instant messaging app called Line, which is by a Korean company. And then you kind of like talk with them through there, and then you make the sales quotation, or you go straight to the call, you get into a meeting, and then you close the deal, and then perhaps you schedule a demonstration of the product and whatnot. And that's kind of where it ends. And then of course we capture all of that in our spreadsheet, and then we manage that through our clients and stuff like that.
That's so interesting, because with our sales team out of Inner Armour, WhatsApp is the thing to do. Like, and it drives some of the. It's usually right now it's all guys on our sales team there, and it drives me crazy because they're like email, phone call, WhatsApp, and some pretty sensitive information is coming through on WhatsApp, and they're like, really, like, it feels a little too casual, for us, right? But it's just wherever you are in the world, there's going to be a favorite way to communicate. So that's interesting.
Since you touch on your sports nutrition business as well, do you find that there are some similarities in B2B marketing and B2C? Is it like on a high level, like the same thing, or what's your thoughts there?
Very interesting. So right now, funny enough, our focus for sales with Inner Armour is B2B, believe it or not. So out to distributors. So our only thing right now for consumers is in North America on Amazon.com. We have a couple of products there, simply because as you're getting something going. So this is an established brand, but we had to revamp a number of things with it. And as you're getting something going, you really have to think about, the bang for the buck, right? Is it? It's hard enough to sell one bag of protein to, a consumer as it is to sell a container, overseas. So which makes sense for your company. So purely on that, right now we are very, very B2B focused. For sure. So it's similar that way. Within B2B and B2C, we have to remember, and sometimes we can get lost in this, it's the human at the end of the day. So while it feels like consumer marketing is more, emotional, more timely, you don't have to think a lot about buying some, a consumer good. I mean, depending on what you're buying, but usually it's your choice to go ahead and buy it. You don't have to go to a buying committee. You don't have to, wait around for your budget cycles and whatnot. So it's usually faster and usually more emotionally driven. So that would be the difference that I see.
I really love your point that you made. It's ultimately there's a human being that's on the other side, whatever you're writing or creating. Kind of like just to sidetrack on perhaps some advice for people who are maybe just starting out in their career in marketing, or perhaps there's someone right now who's watching us and it's like, man, one day I want to have my own business. I want to be a CMO too. Can you talk us through kind of like the process of leveling up from where you started and how you've grown as a person and in the skills, and how perhaps some tips and tricks on which books that helped you on the way, and perhaps some resources if you don't mind sharing for the audience?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess that I would be ideal to answer that because I did go to school, and then my very first job came out. I was marketing assistant, and so all the rungs up to CMO. So the path I took and the path today, probably going to be very different. It's probably going to be condensed today, a lot quicker, and there's just a lot more skills you're able to have at the different levels compared to when I started and whatnot. The road there. So first of all, if you're starting off, just come out of school, or you're a marketing assistant watching this, marketing manager, and you want to get to CMO, I mean, for sure, go for it, but realize like as you climb, there may be other things that you find that are of more interest to you, or a career path could change. So that's okay. So keep in mind, I started out being like not going to run my own company, and now we've got two. So just be prepared for some opportunities to come your way you haven't ever thought about. What's important within marketing is, for sure, I would say to learn the fundamentals. All the technology and whatnot can get layered on top of that, but you have to remember there is a product or a service. Where is it being sold? What is the price of it? How is it positioned against your competition? And at the end of the day, who's buying it? And are you creating a product or service because you're trying, you're more in love with it than the market is in love with it, right? So you got to make sure that there's a problem out there that you are, you're legitimately solving. And the neat thing about being in a market where you can do that is the market will tell you with their wallet. They vote with their wallet. Yes, this is a good idea. Have my money. I'll buy your product or service, or no, it's not. If you are in B2C marketing right now, I would say go to a conference focused on business to business marketing just to explore. You may be enamored with B2B marketing and fall in love with something. Typically, B2B marketing isn't taught in schools. And what I mean about that is like all the case studies and whatnot. You've got Nike, you've got Apple, you've got FedEx, you got the big brands. You hardly ever have some little, not little, but some industrial fastener company that is a major case study, right? But some of the most successful, the most profitable, the most interesting companies are some of these invisible ones. So do yourself a favor, and or if you find yourself coming out of school and you're in a B2B company and you think it's boring as anything, go to a B2C conference and see what's out there, really. So you owe it to yourself to really understand the discipline and what's out there for yourself, for sure. I would also study some of the masters. I mean, marketing or discipline only was created a few short decades ago. And so really starting to understand how branding came about, some of the ways that some of the famous companies launched their brands, some of the scandals that happened, and understanding that will really help you today. So one of the scandals There was at least in North America, there was a scandal with Tylenol. This goes back to the 80s.
Oh,
and there were some problems with some tampering with the Tylenol. And there was a very controversial decision at the time the CEO took to take Tylenol off all the shelves in all the stores in North America. And you can imagine what that did to the, like, oh my goodness, we can't sell all this. But winning the trust of the consumer and the trust in the brand was such an important thing for the company to do. It was the right decision. And what I mean by studying that, it's going to happen again. As a marketer, it's more than just what did the website do? What did it, what were our e-commerce sales today? How did my ads do? What's traffic going on? There's a bigger picture to the discipline that I would encourage you to explore. And then the further up you go, the more important it is for you to understand and show how marketing relates to the rest of the business. And sometimes in marketing, or if you hear in the news, chief marketing officers have a 9-month shelf life or whatever. Like, it seems like a revolving door. So that can be, something that's quite negative about it. And that the complaints seem to be that marketing doesn't really understand the rest of the business. Marketing doesn't really understand sales. Marketing doesn't really understand finance and whatnot. So I would say if you are serious about moving up, do yourself the favor and really start to understand what makes business tick and what makes things happen within the organization you're in. How does the money flow in or out? How does sales get impacted? What happens with customer success? What happens with procurement? The more you know about the whole business and you can speak about it, and then you can see, is there a role for marketing in our procurement department, right? Who knows? Maybe there is, but showing how valuable marketing can be to drive and help the whole business will definitely help you as you rise, and will showcase to the rest of the leadership team that you're hoping to be a part of, that you're really part of the team and you're really ultimately trying to drive the company forward.
That's gold, man. That's gold. I think
that would be my advice.
Dude, if anyone heard that part, I think, and if you took Jen's advice to heart and actually took action, you're going to level up super fast. Because I think quite a lot of people, or at least like the marketers that I've met, quite a lot of them that do really, really well, it's simply because they really understand what brings the money in and how that money is then translated into more profits and more investment opportunities for the company to invest in branding, in marketing, in new products, in R&D, in customer success. And they have that big holistic picture of how the business ticks. And I think quite a lot of people don't know enough of that. And they just realize that, the marketing is just, okay, let's run ads, let's run campaigns, let's get this funnel right, let's get, the sales script right, let's get the landing page beautiful, blah, blah, blah. But actually, there's a lot more than that. There's plenty of loopholes in the whole process that could go wrong. Even though you have a perfect campaign, even though you have the perfect sales script, even though you nail out every single little bit in the marketing world, there could still be something that goes wrong. Like, for me, I had an example where we had an amazing campaign. We got the leads in. The customer came to our company to see the product. Our sales had they walked through our whole process, and then the customer bought. But then they started to feel, perhaps cheated on because of our service team, that perhaps one of them was having a bad day. I had to go in directly and reestablish that trust, and it was a learning curve for the whole team as well. Hey, look, it's not just we do the marketing and you don't care about what goes on after the sale, because it could wreck the whole process, actually.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, because marketing is what your customer is feeling throughout the whole process. And if everything's warm and fuzzy until they buy, and then it's just like the worst experience ever, you just feel like I am not renewing. Where's the love? Where's the care? So it's so vital. It really is. Yeah, you got it.
For sure. Now, Jen, because as you've grown your business, how's that capacity and your ability to kind of step up and lead a team as well, right? Because I'm sure that you don't run this just on your own or with, right?
No.
How big is your team? And I guess, what are the skills, for someone who wants to be an entrepreneur one day to kind of acquire in terms of their leadership, perhaps there's gaps in the communication and stuff like that? And how do you pick your team and your tribe?
All good questions. When you were talking, I was just thinking of something that I had heard before running my own business, and that was, the organization can only rise to the skills of the leader, and I never really understood that because if you remember, sitting in corporate, it always looked like the leader, they had it all together. We're in this big company, everything's good, but yeah, your organization, no matter how big it is, it can only grow as fast as you are growing. And that really becomes apparent when you are faced with situations where you're like, I'm not sure how to get through this. Maybe I'm a bad leader. But the funny thing about entrepreneurship or running your own show is you are kind of going to school every day and learning the lessons. You're paying for your own lessons,
so
and
true.
you're forced to either make decisions or step into making the decisions, and you're completely not ready for it. So you're always 100% or maybe 90% uncomfortable, right? So that's why you see some of us,
spending
time in email, because you're like, at least I know how to do this, right? So
that is a alpha right there. That's behind the scenes for all of you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny part, right? So and that's where it gets hard with delegation and whatnot. So a good quote that I believe it was Ed Milet that said it, and he said that entrepreneurship is the number one personal development course you could ever take, because every single day you're being challenged in ways you don't know if you can do it. You have to step up. You're not completely sure. And you asked how we pick our team. So in our organization, we run things a little bit differently. At least I think it's a neat model, but I keep being told like, oh, that's interesting, and not with the raised eyebrow. Oh, that's interesting. So what we do is within our company, because we work with many different types of clients, still in business to business, there are many different skill sets that we need. So for us, just to keep it, I guess, small here, we need web designers, we need content writers, we need graphic designers, video and whatnot. Not every one of those professionals are good at all the industries that we serve. And so for me to staff up in order to serve all the industries that we do, I would need to have probably an organization as large as yours, and we're not there yet. So how I combated that problem, because I just thought there's a way around this. And so what we do is we hire other small businesses to come in and fulfill the work. And what I mean by that is the writers that we hire, they have their own writing business. There may be just one of them, there may be more than them, but they specialize in a certain area. So we're like oil and gas, great, we're bringing in this writer. Okay, web designers, we'll bring in this kind and whatnot. And what's neat about that is because we're a small business and we're working with other small businesses in order to, serve our clients. What you typically get now, so for the client benefits, because there's a whole bunch of small business owners executing on their work. So really understanding about ownership, understanding about, the money has to come in, understanding how to do a great job like that. So we have a team of 6 that we use most often. And then we have what I call is a bench of 12. And what I mean by a bench is there's some things that you don't need every single day. For us, that would be, say, research. We don't need that every single day. But when we do, we have the team that we pull in that handles our research for us. So right now, 6 and 12 right now.
That is a very neat model. Now this makes me rethink my model as well. I'm just staffing up.
Well, it does keep me on my toes, because here's the thing too. I mean, of course, you can have employees, whatnot, and yes, employees can leave at any time. But you think I have to make sure that our projects are presented to these other small business owners as enticing, as profitable for them, as how's it going to add to their own development? Is it I always want any of the folks that work with us, I always want them to feel like they'll take my phone call because I always have something interesting for them, and that they always feel at the end of the project or at the end of the client work, I learned much more than I did, day one. I increased my own skills. I increased knowledge of a different industry. I want it to feel like it's pushing them and their skills forward as well every time that they come and do a project with New Initiatives Marketing. And I know I'm in competition with other companies that want to bring them on there too. So I've got to make it as appealing as possible. I got to pay on time. I got to be fair. You know what I mean? So it keeps me on my toes too.
Wow, that sounds. I mean, I thought that my world was challenging with a lot of phone calls coming in from leads and customers and stuff like that. I think yours is actually pretty challenging too. So, wow.
I think we both have our hands full, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, kind of looking back, right, Jen, do you feel that all the things that you've learned so far and where you are right now in terms of your kind of like your personal status, has it been worth it for you as an entrepreneur so far?
It depends on the day. If we're being quite serious, generally, yes. It's a lot harder than I thought it was. And keep in mind, I got into this in not knowing what I was getting into. Let's just tell you that. So it's been a lot harder. But I like the person I am more today than I did in 2009. So there's been a lot of good growth in areas that I knew I needed to grow, and that many I didn't. And so from that, yes, it has been worth it. And there are days that you just wonder if you should be doing this, to be quite honest, when it gets tough. But yes, totally. On the whole, worth it. Yes. Beautiful. Like a few closing questions that I have. This won't be a podcast in 2024 if we don't discuss AI, especially in the marketing world, right? So are we as CEOs, as CMOs going to be, jobless because of AI? Like, what's your thoughts around there? It's hard to say, right? This thing is moving so very fast. I think it's very important to get on board and embrace it and understand what's happening. I think some of the fear that people are putting out there, I think don't necessarily disregard it, sort of understand where that fear is coming from. And, this is not the silver bullet for sure. But it is important to wrap your head around and start using and start experimenting with it. What I've found, I mean, there's lots of great stuff happening with us. We are using it for some brainstorming. We're using it from like, okay, are there other ideas on this that we haven't thought about? So that can definitely help us. There's a lot of team members that we have that produce the content, that actually do the writing. And it's important, the relationships that they have built with our clients. They do a lot of interviewing to get the content out, and then we produce it in their voice, so they really can put their name on it and stand behind it and whatnot. We do have some folks that are, and this is where it gets a little bit weird here. So generally, enthusiastic about it, and for sure we gotta, it can certainly be a really great assistant and really be helping our business. We have so I've run into some colleagues that are, say, prior to AI being so rampant or available for a lot of us, high performers, enthusiastic, delivering great work. Some of those people are very afraid of AI, and I have noticed that enthusiasm and that delivery of work has been falling a little bit because of being frightened. Is this going to take my job away? What's the point in trying so hard anymore? And that human part of it, really, I want to be sensitive to it, because if it's really something scary, how do we help you not be scared of it? But on the other hand, if you think wider than that, and you just don't discount someone's fears, or like, oh, that's old fashioned, we're going to leave you behind. You think about it in your own organization or in your own industry, losing that potential, right? Losing that enthusiasm, because some folks are scared about that. So that's something that concerns me. And I just hope that more people who maybe are afraid of it just are able to take a couple of baby steps and start getting into it, and seeing that it's probably not going to take your job away. It's probably going to help you do things faster. It's probably going to free up some things. It's probably going to be more of an assistant. But then if you look, you look back in history, and there's been obviously major changes, and certain jobs have gone away. But then others are created. So, I mean, there was a point in time where you couldn't be a web designer because there was no such job. But you know what I mean? So, on the whole, I think it's a positive. But I think it's important to, we all adopt to change in a different way. And those that are a little bit slower, I mean, I think sometimes we tend to either make fun of them or leave them behind. But that's great human potential for your own company that you have to do what you can to bring them along.
Like for me, I feel like fearing something is quite like a waste of time and energy. So I want to go like straight in and just get that fear out of the way. Usually what I found is that a lot of people are afraid because they just don't understand it, or they haven't had the experience to actually try it enough and see it be so helpful. Like for me, because as an engineer in my training, we're all about like, okay, if there's a new tool, we're going to try it out. And if it's helpful, great, let's use it, because it's going to help us, it's going to help the world, it's going to help our business, it's going to help our team. So I'm like all in. So, but then as you shared just now, there is a very real fear for a lot of people in this world that perhaps are very cautious. Perhaps it's kind of like that fear that's hindering them from, just as you said, embracing it and perhaps just wrapping your head around it. And like for me, I think ultimately nothing's going to beat the human capacity to be creative. But how do we take what we have in ourselves, in our uniqueness, and use these tools to take it to the next level? And that's how I use AI in my own world. And it's been very fun and honestly breathtaking, because some days, we have a lot of meetings, we do a lot of stuff, family and whatnot. And sometimes when you're trying to sit down to do something and you don't have all the ideas straight for you, just having that extra edge to go to like for me, it's very simple. I just go to ChatGPT and I just ask, okay, can you generate some ideas for some content for me? And it'll just go through, because it'll actually take from the stuff that I used to write about before and then process it through to me. So that makes it a lot easier for me to not kind of like, stay there and just like, I don't know what to write, so.
Exactly.
That's really helpful.
No, absolutely. But that alludes to what you asked previously about leadership and then not being totally ready for it. So this is one of the things that I'm struggling with. So how do I lead some of our folks that may be a little more scared about this? So it's a new frontier. I haven't been here before, and how do I do this? So so there's an example of not quite sure, but expected to figure it out. So
there is one thing that I found quite helpful, Jen, is sometimes bringing in like a third party to help you kind of convey the message could help as well.
That's a good
like
point. Yeah.
Just find like a friend that who's very, I guess, used to doing this kind of stuff, and seeing like a good example of a marketer or perhaps like a writer who have really embraced that technology, and it has helped them better work, faster work, so that they can have more time, right? Like what Dan loves to preach, right? We're buying back our times with everything that we should be doing.
Yes. No, I will take that. Thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
It really is.
Is there anything in particular, perhaps like a book or some resources that you want to leave with the audience? Perhaps someone who want to get into the marketing field. Is there like a golden book that you would recommend us to go to? Have some websites or some resources?
Some resources there. So I think there's some things that move so fast that I like to rely on podcasts. There are a couple of books, but let me stick with a couple of podcasts, and here's why. There's one that comes out. Oh my goodness! I'm just going to check on my phone here.
That's fine.
There is one that comes out every single day, and it's only about 10 minutes long. And where are you here? Just a minute. And it's really good. Okay, so it's literally, I can't believe I forgot this. It's called Today in Digital Marketing. And they do a 10-minute rundown of what's happening. And as you can imagine, from the title, it's up to date. It's really what's happening, and it gets quite detailed into a lot of things that are happening within digital marketing. So much so that they'll be like, oh, there was a change in Facebook ads today. This thing, now you check that box. So it really does get quite detailed. So if you're into that, that's
and it's daily as well.
It is daily as well. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. The other one that I would suggest is it's called, it's not so marketing focused, but because the leader of this podcast has come up in marketing, there always is, some kind of marketing bent. And it would be a really good show to listen to how, marketing and general business come together. That one is called 6 Pixels of Separation, and that comes out weekly.
Okay.
So that's another really good one. And then there is what I would suggest too. A third one is if like this could be a stretch for marketing people, because I know previously it would have been a stretch for me to listen to a podcast about sales. And the reason for that is because marketing is there to, one of the things that marketing does in our organization is support sales. And so the more that you know about what sales is going through, what the different stages are in, learning sales, and understanding that, it will make you understand that customer better, because internally, the sales team is going to be one of your customers.
That's so true. That's so true. Wow, that's golden insight for those of you who want to be even better in marketing. And I think it also helps because if you understand sales, ultimately, I think you're just going to do so much better in marketing. Like when I started in my dad's company, one of the things that he told me to do was to go out in the field with our sales team and just be there, just sit and just listen and learn what they're doing. And from there, I was able to learn from both sides, from our suppliers and as well as from the customer side. So then when you understand both, then you can then craft a better message and a better strategy for your target customer as well. So that's some really golden insight there. Awesome. Well, Jen, it was amazing to get to connect with you this way. And it's such an honor for you to come on, share your experience, your insight into your world as a CMO and running your businesses. We didn't really get to touch much on the B2C, but perhaps next time you're very welcome to come back. I think we can probably talk a long time on just marketing, because there's so much cool stuff we can talk about, right? There's like ads, there's how do we actually get leads on LinkedIn? Like what's the process there? How does one even think about reach outs on LinkedIn? How do we actually grow that audience on LinkedIn? Like, do we just get ourselves out there? What type of content works for B2B businesses and whatnot? I think there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, right? So,
yeah. I'd love to continue the conversation if there's an opportunity, for sure.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Jen. I know it's a bit late for you, so I hope you have a good night, and we'll see you next time, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and go and follow Jen on her socials. I will drop all her links in the description, so you can go find her there, reach out. I'm sure she'll be more than happy for you to reach out to her if you are looking for some marketing services. She's definitely someone that can help you out there. So, all right.
Thank you for
Cheers,
the opportunity.
Jen. Thank you.
All right.